Okay, so let me ask you this. Thinking about horror, what's your relationship with it? Especially animated horror. Maybe it started with something kind of spooky on Saturday mornings. Or maybe you jumped straight into the really intense stuff later on.
Yeah, it's interesting how people come to it.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into that exact world. The fascinating, sometimes pretty unsettling world of animated horror TV shows.
Right. And our mission here is really to unpack how animation, which, let's face it, lots of people still just connect with kids stuff.
Yeah.
How it actually gives horror creators this incredibly flexible platform.
Yeah.
The source for this is an article looking at the 7 best animated horror TV shows. And it does a great job showing how animation can cook up nightmares that, honestly, you just couldn't film in live action.
That's really the heart of it, isn't it? Animation isn't tied down by, like, physics or reality, so creators can just visualize fear, pure fear. Body horror that's pushed way into the surreal. Or psychological stuff where the world literally shifts around a character. Or monsters pulled straight from an artist's head, no limits.
And that artistic freedom, it's amazing because it means creators can really dial in the specific feel they want. You end up with this huge range. The same medium gives you, like, gentle, spooky vibes for kids and super graphic, mature, dark fantasy.
And both can work so well. So the idea is by the end of this deep dive, you'll get a handle on that amazing range, and hopefully you'll walk away with maybe a deeper appreciation for both animation and horror.
Definitely.
So let's kick things off where I think a lot of us got our first taste of horror, the Tales from the Cryptkeeper.
Oh, yes.
This thing was a Saturday morning hit, based on EC Comics, the HBO show. But for kids, how on earth did they pull that off?
Well, the genius of it wasn't just, cutting out the really extreme gore. It was perfecting the horror morality play, but for a younger audience. It kept that ghoulish vibe, that core idea of standalone stories where bullies or thieves or whatever.
You get what's coming to them.
Exactly. They get their supernatural comeuppance, usually in some clever, ironic way. It made exploring those fears feel safe. Almost. Not traumatizing.
And you had the Cryptkeeper himself, that cackle. John Casser's voice is just iconic.
Oh, absolutely.
He was perfect for it. Spooky, but funny, too. Not actually terrifying.
Right.
And the show was great at just introducing those basic horror ideas. Vampires, werewolves, mad scientists, in a way kids could grasp. It never felt like it was talking down to them.
Yeah, it's interesting to think how foundational that show might have been for a lot of people listening. It really did lay some groundwork for understanding horror tropes. And it showed that kids' horror didn't have to be, completely tame.
Totally. Okay, so from that sort of a gateway horror, let's jump to the other end of the pool, the deep end.
Okay.
Let's talk Castlevania, this show. Wow. It really felt like it changed the game for video game adaptations and for mature animation generally. What made it such a standout?
Castlevania is just, it's a masterclass. Dark fantasy, gothic horror, all built on that classic game series. The story starts with Dracula basically declaring war on humanity after his wife is burned as a witch.
Which is a heck of a motivator.
Right. And what's amazing is how it doesn't just, copy the game.
Yeah.
It digs deep into the characters, the story. It elevates it.
And then you get this great trio fighting back Trevor Belmont, Sypha Belnades, and Alucard, Dracula's own son. Their whole dynamic is crucial.
It really is. The show works so well as an adaptation because of that character work. It explores grief, corruption in the church, cycles of violence, heavy stuff. And then you pair that with action sequences that are just stunningly animated, but also incredibly brutal.
Oh, yeah.
The fights against these really inventive demons, it makes the world feel both beautiful and just unrelentingly dangerous.
It definitely raised the bar for adult animated horror, showed what was possible with story and visuals. Okay, speaking of pushing boundaries in different ways, let's shift to something that blended surreal horror with comedy. Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Courage.
That show felt so weirdly personal, didn't it? Just bizarre.
The whole idea of nowhere being this place of constant low-level dread is key to Courage. It's like weaponized isolation. You've got Courage living out there with Muriel and Eustace, and it's just nonstop weirdness attacking the farm.
Alien chickens, ghostly farmers, that creepy hairdresser, and Courage, who's terrified of everything, still has to save them.
And often Muriel and Eustace are just completely oblivious. I remember watching it sometimes late and genuinely being freaked out.
Oh, yeah. The visual style is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
It would dip into really grotesque, unsettling images that felt so out of place for Cartoon Network at the time. It tapped into that childhood feeling of being small and facing these big, weird adult monsters you can't understand. But it mixed the scares with slapstick.
Right.
But underneath all that strangeness, Courage's dedication to Muriel, that gave it a real heart.
Definitely. That unique mix of creepy, funny, and heartfelt, it made it a classic. Showed that kids' animation could be genuinely unsettling.
Okay, changing gears again, but staying kind of morbidly funny. What if Death, like the actual Grim Reaper, lost a bet and had to be friends with two kids?
The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Such a brilliant, twisted premise.
Isn't it?
You have the Grim Reaper, voiced so memorably by Greg Eagles with that Jamaican accent,
Yeah.
forced into being best friends forever with Billy and Mandy after losing a limbo contest over a hamster soul.
It just flips everything, becomes totally normal, everyday stuff.
Exactly. Grim's just there. So trips to the underworld, bumping into Dracula or Cthulhu.
And the humor is so cynical. Grim's misery, Billy's complete idiocy, and Mandy's just pure calculated evil sometimes. It's hilarious.
It really leaned into both the horror and the comedy. Didn't pull punches on either side. Created this super unique, grim, but really inventive world. It definitely pushed boundaries for kids' TV with how dark its humor got. It still got a huge cult following. Okay, from that kind of suburban dark comedy, let's talk about another big moment for adult animation. Spawn, the animated series.
Yeah. HBO in the late 90s.
How did this show manage to prove that superhero cartoons could be seriously dark, like really unflinching?
Well, it was groundbreaking, really. It just refused to compromise. You've got Al Simmons, this government operative who's killed and makes a deal with a demon to come back.
Right, comes back as a hellspawn.
Yeah, this incredibly powerful but tormented anti-hero stuck between heaven and hell. And Keith David's voice for Spawn, just perfect, iconic.
The whole feel of it was so dark. That gothic atmosphere, the art style mixing film noir shadows with really grotesque, demonic stuff. And the music, too.
Absolutely. And it tackled big themes, damnation, free will, what it even means to be human anymore. It wasn't shallow. Its success really showed there was an appetite for that kind of gritty, R-rated animation. It definitely broke down doors for other mature cartoons, especially in the superhero genre.
So we've seen horror adaptions, surreal horror, horror comedy, dark superhero stuff. What about taking a really familiar, almost comforting formula and twisting it?
You think it's Scooby-Doo?
I'm thinking Scooby-Doo, Mystery Incorporated.
Okay, yeah. This one's fascinating because it took that classic Scooby formula, monster investigation, guy in a mask.
Right, the one we all know.
And it injected it with a real, ongoing, serialized horror. A lot of people argue it's the best version of Scooby-Doo ever.
I might be one of them.
Me too, maybe. Because this time, the mysteries weren't random. They were all tied to this big, overarching curse on their town, Crystal Cove.
And the influences were so clear, Twin Peaks, H.P. Lovecraft, it got genuinely creepy.
Oh, definitely. It wasn't afraid to be scary. The stakes felt real. The relationships between the gang were way more complex and sometimes messy.
Yeah.
And the big bad wasn't just some disgruntled real estate developer. It was this ancient, evil, cosmic entity. It took itself seriously.
It really did. It turned this sort of lighthearted mystery show into something epic with real consequences.
And it proved those characters could absolutely work in a world where the monsters weren't just a gag. It gave fans, old and new, something really substantial to dig into. It had a great, satisfying ending, too.
It really did. Okay, one last stop on our tour. Let's talk anime, specifically Parasyte, the Maxim.
Ooh, good one. Body horror central.
Absolutely. Known for that visceral stuff, but beyond just the, nightmare fuel of Miji the hand parasite. What else makes this show stand out and how it looks at identity?
Well, the premise itself is just brilliant, right? This little alien worm tries to take over Shinichi Izumi's brain, fails, and ends up stuck in his right hand. It becomes Miji, this sentient, shape-shifting thing. And now they're stuck together, Shinichi and Miji, in this weird, forced symbiosis.
Fighting off other parasites who did successfully take over humans and now eat people.
Exactly. And that central idea, this invasion of the self, leads to some incredibly creative and, shocking body horror.
Miji turning Shinichi's hand into blades. It's visually incredible. And the other parasite designs are just genuinely monstrous. Animation lets them go all out.
Totally. But it's not just about the gore, even though there's plenty. The story develops into this really compelling thriller.
Yeah.
It keeps asking, what does it mean to be human? Are humans really any less monstrous than these things hunting them? There's that constant tension of Shinichi and Miji having to hide what they are, blend in, and you see Shinichi start to change, maybe lose some of his humanity.
Yeah.
It's gripping.
Yeah, it really sticks with you. It makes you think about identity, survival.
Yeah.
Where that line between human and monster even is.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, okay, we've covered a lot of ground, from kids' spooky gateway shows like Cryptkeeper,
Right.
all the way to something as philosophically heavy and graphically intense as Parasyte. It really does show just how versatile animation is for horror.
It really does. It can create things, feelings, nightmares that you just couldn't capture any other way.
Hopefully this deep dive gives you a good sense of that breadth and depth in animated horror. Maybe inspires you to check out a few of these if you haven't seen them.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? To get you thinking, give you those aha moments about this stuff. Quickly, but thoroughly.
So as we wrap up, here's something to chew on. Animation has basically limitless artistic freedom, right?
Pretty much.
So what are the ultimate limits of fear it can explore? What kinds of animated horror might we see down the road that we can't even imagine right now?
It's a good question to ponder.